So go ahead and just plant your feet and close your eyes. Just take a moment to get back into your body. And really soften the joints. Find that place where the soles of the feet connect with the earth. And then visualize the skeleton. And go back to that place where you feel like there's a thread coming from the top of your skull and your skeleton is just hanging down, completely relaxed, released. And start to send little tiny vibrations through the skeleton. And imagining the way that a microwave heats by vibrating the molecules and creating heat throughout the whole molecular structure of the substance. So little tiny vibrations all the way through the whole skeleton. Think of the bones vibrating, shaking loosely. All the way from the head, releasing the jaw, down into the chest, the back, into the shoulders, down the arms, into the hands, down through the rib cage, through the spine, pelvis, thighs, knees, shins, down, and vibrating from the feet into the earth, and then back up through the whole body again, sending little vibrations through the bones, creating heat, warmth, energizing, and also releasing. And then taking that vibration from the bones and starting to let it radiate out into the surrounding muscle. Sending vibrations all the way through the muscle, releasing, energizing. Trying to keep it uniform throughout the whole body to begin with. Feel that whole entity of vibration throughout the whole body. Allow the muscles to become completely released. Feel the substance like jello or some kind of very loose substance. And then starting to focus on different parts of the body individually, starting to shake into the muscles of the head and the face. And then down into the chest, the upper back, the shoulders, really shaking down through into the muscles of the arms, the hands, the fingers. And then back up, the arms back into the torso, and shaking into the rib cage. Think of it initiating like microwave vibrations in the bones of the ribs and then radiating out into the muscle. And then vibrating down into the muscles, either side of the spine, releasing, and shaking down into the pelvis, really releasing, shaking, vibrating all the way through the pelvic muscle, the pelvic bones, the muscles surrounding the bone. And then shaking down into the legs, the thighs, releasing and energizing the muscle with vibration, and down through the feet into the floor, and back up into the whole body. And then shaking through, sending microwave vibrations through the skeleton into the muscle and then through to the skin. Activating the surface of the skin with vibration. Feel it coming into contact with air, with the clothing. Feel that energy on the surface of the skin. All the way through the body, from head down to the chest and the upper back, down into the arms, into the rib cage, into the pelvis, into the legs, activating the surface of the skin with vibration, and down into the feet, feeling the soles of the feet vibrating against the floor, against the earth. And back up into the whole body, feeling the shape of the skin as a whole unit, the shape in space vibrating. And then from here, go ahead and send that energy out into the space surrounding you. Microwave energy coming from the skeleton, through the muscle, through the skin, and out into the surrounding space. Activating the molecules in the air, creating your own energy field. And then allow the vibrations to become smaller, 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 back into the skin, back into the muscle, back into the bones. Smaller and smaller until you just feel a buzzing sensation throughout the whole body. Take a breath. And then take your time, just melt down to the floor, ending up on your back. And take a moment to establish the back as a new weight-bearing source. And your legs are free from weight-bearing. And just allow the legs to suspend in the air in a comfortable position. Take a moment, breathe into the legs, and then picture the bones of the legs and feet and the toes, and just start to send tiny little vibrations through the bones, through the toes, through all the little tiny bones that go to make up the feet. Sending vibrations through each one, into the ankles, the shins, the knees. Activating the bone with vibration. Think of energizing and also releasing. And then let that energy, that vibration radiate out from the bones to the surrounding muscle. The muscles of the feet, the calf muscles, really feel the shin bone vibration radiating out to the bulk of the calf muscle. Into the knees, vibrations through the knee joint, and into the thighs. And then those vibrations radiate out further to the skin, activating the skin with vibration, feeling the skin in contact with the air, skin in contact with your clothing. And then finally, from the bones, radiating out through the muscle, through the skin, and into the surrounding air. Sending vibrations out into the surrounding molecules of the air, energizing the air around you, creating your own little energy field. And then bring it back smaller, back to the skin, back into the muscle, back into the bones. And then just take a moment to feel the legs suspended. And just feel this buzz going through the legs and feet, a buzz of energy. And then take your time to go back up onto your feet again. Just take a moment. Take a breath. And find those vibrations going through the whole skeleton again, from the top of the head down into the feet. And then just start to play with the idea of vibration all the way through the body. Let vibration guide the motion through the body. It can be small, just inside the bones, or it can be really expanding out into the space, sending vibrations wildly into the space around you, or anything in between. It can be focusing on one body part, or it can be the whole body. But just play, enjoy playing with where the vibration takes you. It can build up until you're traveling through space, or to an almost violent throwing, or it can be in small internal exploration, anything in between. Make the vibration smaller, 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 until you're just planted back on your feet again. And reconnecting with the floor, just finding that internal buzz going throughout the whole body. Breathing deeply, think of filling the whole body with the breath and expanding the body. And imagine the idea of a helium balloon. As you inhale, everything opens, almost as if you're about to float. And start to focus on the head. And having that helium balloon image in the head, expanding with the breath, floating, release the jaw. start to draw just little tiny circles with the top of the head. Imagine you're drawing little circles on the ceiling with your head. And let those little circles get bigger, bigger, spiraling outwards. Release the neck as you inhale. Think of opening up little balloons in between each vertebrae. And allow the shoulders to become involved in the motion to reach a full range of motion. Big and open and free. And then smaller, 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 until you're back up to your little circle, and then inhale, and then going in the opposite direction, little tiny circles, getting bigger, spiraling outwards, bigger and bigger, inhaling into the head, inhaling into the jaw. Find lots of space and freedom inside those joints of the neck. And then smaller, smaller, smaller. And inhale, fill the head with air. Start to circle little circles of the shoulders, and again think of inhaling into the joints as if there were balloons in the shoulders, opening and expanding with your breath, spiraling wider, wider circles. Good. And then let that become smaller. And then going the opposite direction, little circles, inhaling, breathing, expanding, opening, spiraling outwards. And then smaller, releasing back into the joint again. And then going down into the elbows, circling the elbows, opening that joint with your breath. Circle one way and then the other. And then down into just little easy circles of the wrists. Breathing into the wrist, relaxing the hands and fingers, very light and easy. And then circling the other way. From there, start to go through the joints of the hands and fingers, going through each finger as you circle. Think of inhaling, opening, expanding the hands and the fingers with your breath as if they're balloons that you're inhaling. Lots of space and openness inside the hands. And circling the other way. And then go ahead and take that up into the whole arm, wrists, elbows, shoulders, creating little whirls and eddies in the air around you. And then make that smaller until you release the arms again. And taking the focus into the torso, the rib cage, start very tiny little circles of the rib cage as if you're circling around the spinal column, making that bigger, bigger, spiraling outwards into space, breathing fully, deeply, opening up the ribs. Smaller and smaller, back in line with the spine again. And then going the other way, circling. Expanding the rib cage, opening, spiraling outwards. Allow any other shifts in the rest of the body that you need to really open up that spiral. And then smaller and smaller and smaller. Back in line with the spine, take a deep breath. And shift the focus down into the pelvis. Think of breathing down into a great big balloon planted in the pelvis. And then slowly start to circle, little tiny circles to start with. And spiraling outwards and outwards. Allowing the rest of the body permission to do whatever it needs to do to allow the pelvis to rotate in its full range of motion. And then bring that back smaller, smaller, smaller until the tailbone drops down towards the floor. And then start to go the other way, little circles, spiraling out, breathing into the pelvis, really opening up the pelvis with your breath. Smaller, 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 and back into releasing the tailbone to the floor. And then just take a moment to melt down onto your back. And find a comfortable place. The legs and the feet suspended. And think about breathing into the legs, into the feet. And then focus on the toes and just start to circle little tiny circles in the toes. And expand that motion out through the foot to the ankles. Think of breathing into the feet. And then let that get smaller, smaller, smaller. Until you're back into just a little tiny circle of the toes, and then going the other way, starting with the toes and opening up the spiral through the feet into the ankles, inhaling, opening, expanding the ankles with your breath. Finding that full range of motion in the ankle joint. And then smaller, smaller, smaller. And then bringing the focus to the knee joints. Think of breathing into the knees, opening up that joint with your breath, and circling through the knee joint. Very easy, be gentle with your knees. Circling through the joint, even though it's a hinge joint, finding the rotation of a circular motion, also being assisted through the hips and the thighs, and then going the other way with the knees. And then bring the focus all the way down into the large ball and socket joint of the hips. And really think of breathing deeply into this ball and socket joint. Opening it up with your breath, giving it lots of freedom, space, and starting with just little circular motions. picture the inner workings of the ball and socket with the top of the thigh bone gently rotating inside the cup of the socket. And allow those circles to become larger, spiraling outwards. If you want to plant one foot on the floor and just focus on the other leg, then you can do so. Or if you want to do them both at the same time, you can do that too. Once you've completed one direction of circular motion, then switch the rotation to circle the other way. And then just play with the idea of arcs and circles in the hips, the knees, the ankles, the feet, and allowing the pelvis also to rotate, giving yourself full range of motion in all of the joints. And then start to also bring the rest of the body into this motion. Every action is coming from a circular motion inside a joint. Arcs, circles, spirals. And allow this motion to bring you up off the floor if you want to. And just exploring motion through space caused by circular motion inside the joints. Keep the breath activating the joints, opening, expanding with the breath, finding lots of openness and space inside the joints, finding full, easy range of motion. And just enjoy playing with that, where that motion takes you. The floor for the floor massage. Just find a comfortable place lying on your back. And just take a moment to breathe and take a moment to find the weight of your body and to let it completely sink down into the earth. Imagine whatever wonderful substance it is you would like to be lying on. A warm sandy beach, moss, cotton candy. And imagine your weight sinking blissfully down into this substance. Take note of the points of the body where the weight is connected with the earth. And feel yourself melting into the earth through these points. And using these points, just give a little massage into the floor. Maybe lying on your back, it will probably be through the back of the head, wherever your arms and legs and feet and hands are touching the floor, and then wherever in your back is connected most to the floor. Just massage these points, these weight-bearing points against the floor. And then start to roll incrementally, keeping the weight connected with the floor. Roll onto your side. As you transition, be aware of the weight transitioning through different points of the body and releasing those points into the floor as you massage through them. Find a comfortable position on your side and give yourself a little massage through the points that are carrying the weight connected to the earth here. And then again, incrementally rolling back through your back and onto the other side. Take the time to massage every point of the body as it comes into contact with the floor. As you transition through onto the other side of your body. And once you've found where you comfortably land, then give yourself a little floor massage through the points of weight of contact with the floor here. And then go ahead and continue to roll all the way onto your front. And just allow the limbs to slide out from under you however they need to, your arms, to get to a comfortable position. And find the new contact points of weight into the earth on your front. And just give a gentle little massage through those points. And then go ahead and start to roll, massage, keeping your weight firmly in contact with the earth. Just massage the body, transitioning through different points of weight, allowing the body's weight to sink down through those points into the earth, massaging. And don't think of actively lifting anything off of the ground. Just allow things to slide out, keeping the weight connected with the earth. And as you progress, allow the motion to gradually become more and more fluid, still connected with the earth, but starting to feel like a liquid, like you're pouring yourself, maybe something like honey. Let's be honey. Honey pouring itself on the ground from one place to another. Really luxuriate in the motion. And from here, start to introduce the idea of a little cat stretch, just gently pressing into elongating, stretching from this pouring, releasing motion. Keeping the weight connected with the earth at all times, but then just gently pressing, stretching out of it, and then releasing back again. Really luxuriate in this massage. Take your time, gradually bring yourself back to lying on your back and releasing the total weight of your body into the floor. And give yourself a moment of complete release and surrender to gravity.
It's recording. So
yeah, just give me overall impressions, and then we can get into more detail. Maybe even next week.
okay. Yeah, I mean, I felt like the three exercises, which I'm calling vibrations, spirals, and floor massage, cat stretch. They definitely evolved organically, one into the next. It was nice to do it the second time in continuous sequence. Yeah. And I also felt like, in general, the journey from sort of micro to macro and back into micro was really important. Mm-hmm. And I feel like I recognized that in the first exercise the most. Where we started the vibrations almost like inside the marrow of the bones, right. And then you move to the skeleton, the muscles, the skin, and then out into space, and then drew it back in again. I felt like that was a really interesting journey to take. With vibrations, I guess having it be just the first experience with that. I liked your verbal help to feel free to explore like speed, playfulness, variety of how, and maybe even where the vibrations were coming from, like the source of them.
Yeah. The location.
Yeah, and sort of almost like their impetus, like how they are arising, was just something I was, I don't know, thinking about as I was doing it. I liked in all three, I liked that it was sort of a backdoor. It felt sort of like very subtle, like backdoor way to open to sort of potential freedom of movement. And I really...
It's my sneaky plan.
Yeah, the sneaky plan. And I could tell, especially working with trained dancers, which Jenny and I both are, we do find ourselves falling into things that we know, that we're familiar with. That idea of no outer form, the dictating. I mean, it's similar with Butoh approach too, and it's just a constant exercise to let go to the ultimate and endless potential of movement, which I felt like these three were helping me do that. The length and duration of the time spent with the exercise was really interesting, especially, I noticed it most in vibrations because it was the first one. I didn't want to be there. That's like the getting your mind to play with you, to play along, kind of like taming your mind and saying, stay with what you're focusing on. And I don't know that I would have gotten there with less time. So it was sort of like this catch-22. It's like you really held us in the first time we experienced it we would practice that for a long duration. And part of me wanted to run away. And then when I stayed, I realized that was the way to have the experience. Yeah. So I think that's true with all of them.
Yeah. If anything, I kind of almost feel like you could do each one for an hour. Yeah. And then get really somewhere very deep somewhere else.
So that was an observation I had with all of them, but especially the first one, kind of getting in the groove, Is this helpful?
Yeah.
It's too much information?
It's
okay.
Good.
With spirals, I felt like the connecting with wind and water and eddies and that kind of circular flow was really a great image and helpful in sort of tying me to the idea of a spiral, and also that I'm not controlling the spiral, that maybe the spiral is happening to me by another element, which was interesting. With spirals, if I had a chance to do it more times, I would want to explore more with scope, size, and speed. What happens when those spirals get tight and quick or really big and full? Yeah. So that was just something I thought would be fun. And then I loved, spirals felt really freeing. There was a spaciousness. Part of it was your image of the balloons and the helium and that lightness and kind of space inside the joints and the fluidity. And again, that resulted in an openness for ultimate potential of movement. Yeah. So, and then the last one, floor exercise, the cat stretch. This was just such a great exercise in surrender for me. It's especially valuable. I feel like, I'm pulling away. Well, we all are pulling away from gravity so much of our lives. And so when you get the chance to surrender and give into gravity and release to it, it's difficult for me. But then once it happens, it's so liberating. And having the chance through this exercise to recognize resistance in my own body. And I felt like the massaging of the body, the rocking, and kind of letting it go down, 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 down. And then even as we started moving, kind of keeping the mind connected to those surface areas, and the release of that surface was really valuable. And then when the cat stretches finally came in, it felt really great to pull away, but then we already had a familiarity of what it meant to sink down. And so then I felt like then I could push and pull both ways and like go with gravity and then reach against gravity. And so then I started feeling that duality. So
yeah, that's interesting actually that you say that you felt resistance, because I feel like your movement is very planted. I feel like you really have a sense of groundedness.
I think it's grounded, but it's not released.
So yeah, that's the difference.
I feel I often feel grounded, you know, through my more technical training, but that idea of being able to be grounded and also soft and released. And using efficient, right? Like you could be more grounded if you were just efficient and using the gravity instead of almost pushing against it. So it's an interesting play. That was really wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's see. Are we good on time? Just about. Do you want to?
I can
And a lot of the things that we have are similar, you know, a lot of crossovers, of course. Yeah, the resistance was kind of just a common theme for me throughout. Not wanting to let go either mentally, the process of bringing my focus back in constantly became a big part of all the process. Like, so we have this huge event at work later, and I would find my mind wandering to what I have to do to prepare for that when I leave, and then have to reel it back in and be like, but I'm not leaving right now, I'm here, so stay here. So, and that's, you know, something that I always struggle with. So that was just curious to watch that resistance have to be part of my process the whole time. And then not wanting to let go in injury areas and just noticing how I would move those, even if it was something gentle, noticing how protective I was of things that are not feeling great right now, and just realizing that I could let it go and it would probably feel better if I would. So both the mental and physical resistances kind of ebbing and flowing throughout became part of the whole process.
Yeah, that's kind of a very meditational process anyway. It's like letting those things come in and out.
Yeah, noticing them, trying not to judge yourself for even having that thought there. Being like, okay, it's there, but now it can go away, and I'll worry about that later. I don't have to do that right now. So that little process. I also had the thing about efficiency. In all of it, but particularly on the floor with the things that kind of reminded me of Laban Bartunieff and release technique stuff. Using or shifting of weight for efficiency and using gravity in the floor so that ultimately you can do things that might be very challenging with less muscular effort because you're using your weight and using the floor properly. So that just kind of did pop into my head.
Yeah, using imagery.
Yeah. The elemental images also were really helpful and important for me. The whirlpools of the air was a good visual to help me focus again. The earth, when we were grounding our feet or grounding the body, massaging. And then water and honey, the pouring. And then I had fire energy when we sent the energy out and the vibrations. I really had kind of little images of sparks.
Oh, that's nice.
So when we were sending the vibrations out, I had a lot of red, orange, sparky images there. And then they kind of just back in when we brought it back in. They became part of the muscular, neuro, whatever. And some chakra images, particularly in the vibrations. Those colors would sort of pop in and out whenever we were going up and down the body.
That's something I want to explore more.
So that was pretty much it for me. Breath, the importance of the breath, and always, reminding us to come back to that is helpful, because even if you're doing something very released, you might still have that part of you that's holding on. And if you remember to breathe.
Yeah, the breath is really key, and that somehow it really, like seems to get through blockages.
Yeah.
And it's a
It
tool
really
to,
can.
break through those. Excellent.
And then I had Ageless, Timeless, which was just something that popped into my head.
Uh-huh.
Like, I like that this kind of work is timeless. It's always important, no matter when or who is doing it, or how trained or how untrained, or if you're 5 or 95, or
Yeah.
so I think that that's really important about this type of work, is that it's really timeless.
Yeah, it has no style.
Yeah.
It's just about
Yeah.
the body
Mm-hmm.
and the mind. Yeah. Oh, thank you. Cool.
So, Kieran, hope it stays in the right place because I want to look at you rather than look at you through the camera.
Well, I don't have much experience with dance, so my vocabulary is more related to martial arts, Tai Chi, Pilates, swimming, massage, yoga. Those are the types of body work I've done, so I really know very little about dance. So overall, these seem to me very nice, releasing and relaxing exercises. Getting in touch with body awareness, because I know a lot of people have very poor body awareness, not dancers, but ordinary people.
Well, some dancers
And,
do too, surprisingly enough.
So you can always find areas that you're holding on to that
Yeah.
are difficult, or you're holding tension in, and these kinds of exercises really give you a chance to work through those things. So I like that. The first part of it, the vibrations and the music went together a lot. In my mind, totally coalesced into Afro-Caribbean dance. Because they use a lot of, when you see them dancing, it's like the spirit, the elemental energy, and they'll use, controlled, one leg, knees. So I felt like, oh, okay, I've seen this before. So that's what I was that's what I connected with in that exercise, where I thought, that's how they do it. They start from the inside with the bones, and then work their way out into the
that's
into the
something
energy,
that I would be
expressing the
curious
energy.
about knowing more about, because I feel
It's
like they really
fascinating.
tap into that kind of energy a lot. I'd like to know.
You should study
I'd like to know
Afro-Caribbean
what they do.
dance.
Yeah.
That is really great stuff. So anyway, I had a friend who took a course in it, and I sort of read some things about it and saw it a few times. But, so that was what connected with me.
And we have to stay because we have to lock up. So.
Okay.
The second part, because it didn't have a rhythm, I just felt was very slow and controlled. So, I'm into a lot of protecting injured areas and being aware of them, like lower back issues. So, just opening up and improving range of motion, awareness, and releasing, and those kinds of circular joint mobilization, like with massage, we call it joint mobilization. So I thought all of that was really good. That really helped me feel loosened up. And then using the pressure of the floor, the floor massage, I thought that was great. That felt really nice, stretching against the floor. And the visualizations that you used, I thought were a lot of fun. I enjoyed them, so overall I just found it enjoyable. But I don't know anything about performance art. Like when someone says performance art to me, I think Marina Abramovich. So, or these things where like someone is living their life in a cube that's totally visible to someone, in a gallery. That's what I think that's performance art. So I don't know what connection these exercises have with performance art. I know Marina Abramovich has people doing all kinds of special exercises for body awareness and control and changing your mind, because when you change your mind, you change your body.
Right.
So she has people undergo these things, but that's all I know. So these seemed like wonderful loosening up exercises and improving body awareness exercises. For someone who didn't know anything, you'd want to, like I know a lot of anatomy, so I know how to move without hurting myself and things like that, but I don't know. I think a lot of people might hurt themselves if they didn't know what they were doing, or I don't know. I would just worry about that.
Okay.
So That was great, thank you. This was
Yeah.